Hello there, and welcome once again to the Mayor's Magazine. I'm Mick Cornett, the Mayor of Oklahoma City, and this is our program for March 2015. In this first segment, we're going to learn about a new program being launched by the Oklahoma City Police Department. It's called Start by Believing, and to tell us more about it, first of all, we have Kim Garrett. She's the Victims Services Coordinator for the Oklahoma City Police Department. Kim,
hello,
welcome.
Thank you.
And Paco Balderrama, who's a captain with the Oklahoma City Police Department and is a frequent visitor to the microphone and the camera, as he is often the face behind the scenes when the police department is explaining what it is they're trying to do in a public service effort. So Kim, why don't you tell us a little bit about this specific program? What are we trying to accomplish?
Absolutely. The Start by Believing campaign is actually a national program that was launched by End Violence Against Women International in 2011, and what they've done is collaborated with agencies and developed the Start by Believing campaign and made it available and accessible for agencies and states to use for free. And so Oklahoma, our goal is to be a Start by Believing state by April 2015. And what's really exciting is entities from across Oklahoma have all come together. About a dozen agencies have come across the state and all been working together to launch this. And it's really exciting because it's a great example of collaboration and partnership and how much more you can do by working together.
All right. Well, Paco, exactly how is this going to work?
Well, basically, you know, in the planning meetings, it's a very appropriate time because April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So we want to make people aware of the victims that go through this problem, this issue. You know, it's very interesting to me that the person who originally started End Violence Against Women International was a police sergeant from San Diego. You know, somebody who firsthand saw the needs of the victims in this community. So we're going to kick this off in April, and basically put it by showing it on our Facebook, by having posters, by having flyers. We've already developed a brochure for victims and officers, so everybody can be aware of just what we're doing this month. And it's really an educational campaign to teach people what to expect, how to support victims of sexual assaults, because a lot of times we don't respond in the best ways. And in Oklahoma, only about 40% of the victims actually report. So there's another 60% out there that never come forward, never tell police.
And when those crimes are not reported, there's a high likelihood that that person is going to assault someone else. Isn't that safe to say? Well,
not only that, Mayor, but also, that victim never heals. They never go through the process of receiving the services, the education, and just they never go through that closure and healing process. And that's very important.
And I imagine there's some people out there that are, that are saying, well, that they have not been a victim, but they probably know someone. And I would think part of this messaging is to be a support group for people who are victims. Isn't that right, Kim?
Absolutely. The goal is public awareness, and the reality is that most crime victims will first tell a family member or friend, and that their response will really dictate what they do next. If they get a positive response, then they're more likely to move forward with getting support services from like a rape crisis line, calling law enforcement, making a report. However, if they receive a negative response, which oftentimes crime victims do, they're blamed for what happened, then they decide that they don't want to move forward. They don't want to, get services, and it can be really hindering. And go back to what you were just saying a minute ago. Research shows that sex offenders will repeat their violence, and there's an average of about 6 victims. So that a rapist will rape 6 women. And so if we don't help the first one, it becomes then a public safety issue because they're going to repeat and reoffend other women, children. It's very dangerous.
Kim, I've had people tell me, well, I didn't report it at the time or the next day, and now it's been a week or 2 weeks, and so the police aren't going to be interested now. What's your response to someone who might think if they didn't report it immediately that the crime can no longer be investigated?
Well, time can be helpful, certainly, for investigative process, and Paco can speak to that. But police are always interested in identifying trends and reaching out to victims and stopping sex offenders and things like that. And so if a few weeks have gone by, you're still obviously able to come forward and report it, and we encourage that, just so they can at least learn about their rights, the resources that are available to them, and things like that. And I can think of several cases that we've had where there was delayed reporting and there's still been a positive outcome.
What about the resources that are available for a victim? You know, we talk about the the criminal process or the criminal penalties for a person who's the assailant, but what about a person who's a victim? What's available for them through this program and through just kind of the normal the healing process?
Okay. There's actually a lot of resources in our community. One, obviously, the YWCA. There's a statewide safe line which victims can call and learn about what their resources are, what their rights are, maybe what they should do, things like that, which can be really empowering for them to learn about the resources. They have the option to go forward and get a forensics examination, a SANE exam, to collect evidence if they decide they want, to file a police report, or if they don't want to file a police report. There's national hotlines available for people. There's like internet chat groups. I mean, victim resources are getting very creative. There's even, I've seen iPhone apps, things like that. So social media is kind of catching up to what victims need and identifying what their needs are and trying to best respond to how they want to receive those services.
What I'm sensing here is that this program is really almost victim-centered. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's we already have certain procedures in place with the district attorney's office and through the police and through detectives about investigating crimes, but victims are often overlooked. And I think by providing a more helpful support group and reminding people that they have a role, in your friend and your family's lives, there's still a lot of good that can come out of the healing process.
Absolutely.
Do you have any anecdotes, or have people told you personally about stories and things that allowed them to help them get closer to some sort of closure and understanding of a crime that took place?
Well, I know that support can be instrumental for people, whether it be from law enforcement, from advocates, from family members. That can make such a huge difference for crime victims as they move forward. Crime victims have a high percentage of, if they don't get any type of positive intervention, getting post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, developing depression, substance abuse, suicidal ideation, and things like that. And so research has shown time and time again that intervention, a positive intervention, can be crucial in helping victims to move forward and heal.
Paco, what else can you add?
Well, I just wanted to stress that it's definitely an educational campaign. We want the public to know what resources are out there. That's going to be listed on the Facebook page, on the brochure that we're going to give out to victims and officers alike. But it really is, as you put it, victim-centered. Start by believing. Start by believing the victim. That's what we can do starting right now, this very day. Is we can start by believing that victim that walks into the police station. It may have a kind of a crazy or outlandish story, but once we get down to the center of what actually happened, they were the victim of a crime. And it's very important to focus on the victim, because they're the ones who we're trying to protect. We want justice for the victim. So that's, it's in the phrase of the campaign. It's what we're focused on. Our officers deal with a lot of people who are victims, and occasionally we do get the story that turns out to be false. But statistics show that's actually very low. 5 to 8% of the sexual assault reports are actually false. Well, there's still another 92% that actually did happen. So we have to focus on that and just believe the victim, give them the services that they deserve, and also do our best to catch the person that did it. Earlier you guys discussed about reporting quickly. Well, yeah, that's always to our advantage to get the information as quickly as possible so we can gather that evidence. But also, if that victim decides to wait a couple of days, look, as long as they still have the clothes that they wore, we can still gather a lot of good evidence from that, DNA evidence. But we want them to come forward, but they're not going to come forward unless they feel supported and embraced by law enforcement, but also by the community. Sexual assault is one of the unique types of crimes where, if somebody suffers a loss from a traffic accident, you don't ask them what they did to contribute to that traffic accident. Well, for whatever reason, rape and sexual assault, well, what did you do? Is sometimes the response, the incorrect response. Well, we want to remove that and say, look, we can help you. It's not your fault. Let's call the police. Let's get some services. Let's get you some help. And that's what we want the attitude to be.
It is called the Start by Believing campaign. Paco Balderrama, Kim Garrett with the Oklahoma City Police Department. Thanks so much for coming on the show and reminding us the importance of being a part of a support group for women who have been the victim of sexual violence and getting them to report these crimes. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll have more on the Mayor's Magazine right after this.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Tom Piccioni. Laws about illegal parking in handicap spaces have become a lot tougher. Your car can be towed if you're parked in a handicapped parking zone without a permit on display. Plus, the new law allows a $250 fine. Ever notice the striped lines next to some handicapped spaces? It's illegal to park there too. That space is so my friend Mark and others who use a wheelchair can get in and out. So, if you don't have a permit, don't park in a handicapped area. It's the law, and it's just the right thing to do.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Magazine. In this segment, we're going to meet someone who's fairly new to the Oklahoma City area, but he's taking on a very important role in our community. It's Tim Rogers, and Tim is the director of the Metro Library System. Tim, welcome to the Mayor's Magazine.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Whenever we have someone who's kind of new to the program or new to the to kind of the city leadership, I always like to let them know, to let the audience know a little bit more about them. So, where did Tim Rogers grow up? What's your story?
Well, I've been all around, but I started off, grew up in upstate New York, right around the Buffalo area, and after going to college there, I went to Indiana for graduate school. And that prepared me for a life of libraries, and I went back to New York for a few years, but then eventually ended up in Kansas for about 15 years. And then
Where in Kansas were you?
I was in Johnson County, which is suburban Kansas City area, up in Overland Park.
Sure.
Worked there for, like I said, 10, 15 years. And then went to North Carolina, where I ran a library consortium that served 200 libraries across the state of, North Carolina. It was fantastic.
Kind of rural then?
It was actually
200 of them?
Of course, it included all of the public libraries, but also the universities. So it included even Charlotte and Raleigh libraries, but then also University of North Carolina, Duke University, and all of those libraries. We served every library in North Carolina.
Yeah. How was that library system funded?
It was actually funded through contributions from the individual communities of interest, the constituent groups, and so everybody paid a portion of they paid their own way, I guess you would say.
Right.
And because of that, what we were able to do, we provided digital content and services, so it was more on the digital library side of things. In fact, it was entirely on the digital library side of things that we worked. So this has actually been sort of interesting, stepping back into a public library where I have to worry about the roofs and the air conditioning and the heating of buildings, and of course, lately, the snow removal and that sort of thing.
Well, this job opened up, I guess, a year or two ago,
Right.
and what made you want to get more involved and find out more about it?
Well, my daughter lives up in Topeka, Kansas, and so my wife and I had been thinking about moving back to the Midwest, wanting to be closer to her family. My wife's family lives also up in Topeka, and so we had the interest of coming back. This job, Metropolitan Library System, is well known across the United States as one of the best library systems, and so when I heard that Donna Morris was retiring, I thought, this might be a really good opportunity. And the more I learned about the library, the more convinced I was it was a great opportunity for me as well.
Well, let's talk about the ways that libraries are evolving. We all know that a lot of people are reading books now on their iPad or some sort of notebook, and that fewer people might be holding a book. And we hear about kids going to school and they're not even issued books anymore. They're just downloaded onto their laptop or their notebook. That's a vastly different world than books had existed for over 100 years. So how are libraries adapting to the digital age?
That's a great question. I do think that libraries are struggling more so than schools have been, primarily because of the way the publishing industry works. But I can say here at Metro, we have really worked toward incorporating the digital content into the regular flow. 70% of our collection is still print-based, and about 60% of the circulation or the checkouts are those physical books. 11% of our collection is digital, and 11% of the uses are from the digital collection, and so we have seen just in the last few years that is really shooting up quite a bit, and it's not. A lot of people think that it's just the kids, but it's not just the kids. More and more baby boomers, senior citizens, are getting iPads and tablets and other readers, and so we're seeing that is really crossing all demographics now. I think I mentioned the publishing industry being sort of the inhibitor to this right now. In the past, libraries have always been able to buy print books, With some of the digital content, it's actually very difficult for libraries to buy it. It's available in Kindle, but it may not be available in a way that a library can purchase it. Some publishers have actually, over the last 3 years, have said, we're not going to sell to libraries, which means that continuum of knowledge that we've built in our communities with libraries is not actually able to benefit from material that's being published every day.
Are we going to reach a point where books and periodicals that have been stored in libraries for decades, are they going to be digitized and you'll, when you go to a library, it'll be all digital?
I think that there are some libraries that have tried to go that way already. Bexar County down in San Antonio area in Texas has actually tried to incorporate a digital only branches where they really focus more on almost like a lab environment, and it's usually when that's most successful is when the community does not, the people in the community don't have access to the devices or the material itself otherwise, so the library provides it. I think for Metro, I wouldn't say that any time in the near future we'll get to that. I do think that obviously more and more content is available online, but I think that there's still a compelling reason for a lot of folks to have books and the physical medium. It may not be commercially feasible to digitize everything in every library, but there have been major universities that have gone on digitization bends where Duke was actually one, University of North Carolina, even here in this state, Oklahoma State and University of Oklahoma have digitized good portions of their collections, but there's a lot that, it costs a lot of money to do that, and there's a lot that still is I don't say undigitized, but still in print only. So I think that there'll always be that component. But I think we'll see more of a convergence toward additional digital content as we go forward.
Let's talk about the library system in the greater metro area in Oklahoma County. Tell us how many libraries you have, how many employees. Give us all those numbers.
Great, you bet. We have 19 libraries across the county, and those 19 libraries are served by 550 employees that serve the 750,000 people that live and work across the county. Of course, we have large ones, we have smaller ones, but what we work with each of the communities, each of the cities. Oklahoma City is, of course, our biggest partner in that delivery of service, but we also work with cities like Jones and Luther and Nakoma Park and others, Edmond, to provide services across all of the borders of Oklahoma County. Go ahead. I
was going to kind of wrap it up.
Sure.
Tim Rogers is the director of the Oklahoma City Metro Library. Give us, in the few seconds we have left, who's going to the library? Is it skewing younger, older? What are the trends?
I actually think that what we're seeing now is straight across the board. I think that a lot of folks think that it's all little kids or senior citizens, and it really is everyone. And part of that is because the libraries provide not just books anymore. It is both the digital content, but we also provide programs and services that everyone needs, whether it's job creation type things, trying to figure out how to start your own business, whether it's student learning, or even something as simple as going to a musical program that is presented to the library or at the library. People want to go to a place that's in their community where they can really interact with each other, and the library is that living room of the community.
Tim Rogers is the Executive Director of the Oklahoma City Metro Library. Thanks so much for coming on the Mayor's Magazine.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And welcome to Oklahoma.
Thank you so much.
We'll have more after this.
You may think your pet will never get lost,
Have you seen my cat? No, I'm sorry.
but 25,000 pets are separated from their owners in Oklahoma City every year.
No, I sure haven't. Sorry. Have you seen my cat?
No, fella, sure haven't.
A pet ID tag can help us find you if we find your pet. Tag your pet before it's too late.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Magazine. In this segment, we're going to learn more about the upcoming Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon. And Mollie Bennett is here. Mollie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, this is your 4th year, I guess, in
Yes.
kind of overseeing the race. And let's talk about how this race has grown from, when it started, 15
Yes,
years ago?
this will be the 15th annual, and we started with a couple thousand participants, and last year we had 25,959.
25,000?
Yes.
That is so amazing.
Yes, so we're hoping, to top that this year. So.
And that's one of the largest races in the country. Isn't
Yes,
it?
yes, we're pretty comparable with some of our regional races, but even Chicago and even Boston, we're right there with them. So.
Yeah. Now, when you had 2,000, that probably seemed like a lot, and I know you weren't in this capacity.
No.
But how do you handle an event where 25,000 people are going to be there, and a few hours later they're all going home? I mean, it's like you're creating a stadium for just a few hours.
Well, luckily we actually have amazing volunteers and people that return every year. We have about 4,000 each year that are just volunteers for actual race day.
That is incredible.
We really couldn't do it without those people.
And how many of them are along the route?
Well, I would say there's about 350 that are called course marshals that line the entire course, making sure that, there's no cars that come in or random runners jump in on the course. But
that would be good.
No, but we also have 16 medical stations, and those are all volunteers as well, working those. So there's about 500, I would say, along the course. But everybody else is kind of finish line and other places.
Anything unique about this year's race? Are you trying anything for the first time?
Well, this is the 15th anniversary, but it's also the 20th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. So we've invited, survivors and rescue workers and family members to take part, and we hope to see them at a reunion on the finish line. And so that's special. That's something we haven't done before. But other than that, there's not a lot of changes, same course. So we're just hoping to get some more participants.
Well, this show is running throughout the month of March, so I assume it's not too late to sign up.
No, it is not. We will have registration going until a week before the race, the Sunday prior. And then we also will have it at the expo. So prices do increase at the expo, but we will be registering all the way till then.
And I know a lot of people think, well, I can't run a marathon, but there's a lot of shorter races that are incorporated into this event. So encourage people to come on down and just be a part of it, even if they aren't a world-class athlete.
If they're not, we have a 5K, and people walk that all the time. People bring strollers. We have a kids race that's 1.2 miles, and people do that. We also have a relay, a 5-person relay with 2 5Ks, 2 10Ks, and a 12K. So some people, sign up. A lot of businesses and companies sign up for that with their coworkers. So we do have a lot for everybody.
Question that just came to me off the top of my head. So if you don't know the answer, don't feel inferior. Has anybody run them all? Has anybody been around for 15 years?
Yes, we have about 43 right now who have ran every single race.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So they're like a little club. We call them the Ran 'em All Club. And they're about the same ones every single year.
Wow.
So
that's encouraging.
It is.
And the route goes through the northwest part of Oklahoma City. Kind of take us generally on the route.
You're going to start at the memorial, and then we go kind of by the Capitol, and then you'll go up to Lake Hefner, turn around. You'll come back through Nichols Hills and Heritage Hills.
And do you go around Lake Hefner or just to Lake Hefner?
You go to Lake Hefner and kind of around the park, and then you come back down Grand to Nichols Hills.
Okay.
And then run through there.
All right.
All the way back to downtown.
And and you've had all sorts of weather. I mean,
yes.
Every bit of weather. Of course, it's April in Oklahoma,
Yes.
so you're going to have all. But you've had rain, you've had cold, you've had it too hot.
Yes, we have.
And so if you, the race director, were going to give an exact temperature to the race that you would like it to be, what would it be? What would be the optimum?
We would say that a perfect day would start in the 40s, and then cool off to maybe the high be 70. That would be a perfect race day. But we've had some, last year we had a 2-hour rain delay because of lightning. So, and then we've had sleet one year and hail. We're hoping this year for just a pleasant, cool morning. So.
And so the race begins at what time?
6:30 a.m. for all races other than the kids. The kids will start at 8.
Now, when I go out to, and I have never participated, but I have been out for the countdown to get people started before. And people, when I get there, at 6 or 6:15, I mean, there's already thousands of people there. What time do people start showing up?
Well, we do have First Church that's right across the street from the memorial does a blessing of the shoes, and thousands of people come for that, and they get their shoes blessed, and then they walk on over to the finish line. So there's people there starting around 5, and they just kind of linger around the memorial. Some go to visit the chairs and the survivor tree because a lot of people aren't from the city, so they like to go pay their respects. A lot of people run in honor of someone.
Well,
so.
and you bring up a point that, I remember when the bombing occurred, as a city, we were struggling to figure out how we reflect on the concept that the rest of the world was exposed to it. They saw it. People were getting off the interstate and wanted to go see the bombing site. This was before the memorial, and it wasn't like we had signs pointing to where a bomb went off. And so we had to kind of come to grips with the fact that there was visitation interest, and to some extent that was going to focus into some sort of tourism opportunity in a way that nobody was really comfortable with. But this race is an example of economic development that has become the result of the terrorist attack that took place 20 years ago. And so with that in mind, when you talk about this race, where are people coming from? How many people can you say that are coming from outside of this region?
We have 9 countries, and we have 48 states.
Wow.
So even if there's just 1 or 2 from a couple states, we get a lot from Texas and Kansas. Regionally, we get a lot from Colorado and Illinois, and I mean, so lots regionally, but we do get 1 or 2 from every other state.
And so are we talking hundreds or more than 1,000 coming from outside?
Hundreds from the region, and then maybe 20 to 30 everywhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
And when those hundreds come in, I mean, because of when the race is run, you're going to spend the night in Oklahoma City.
Yes.
I mean, you're probably going to end up spending the weekend here. So, I mean, one night is X amount of dollars, 2 nights is X amount of dollars, and when you start to compound that into over 20,000 runners, I mean, this is a tremendous impact on our city.
Yes, we had all of Bricktown booked last year in downtown, and then all of Meridian and all of Quail Springs and Northwest Expressway. So we're kind of covering the city as far as where people can stay. So we're everywhere.
All right, remind us when the race is going to be.
April 26th, and the Health and Fitness Expo is the Friday and Saturday before, so the 24th and 25th.
All right, so the 20th anniversary of the bombing is on the 19th.
Yes.
So that's also a Sunday?
Yes, that is also a Sunday.
And then the race is on the 26th.
Yes.
And we talked about the adults. When's the kid run? What time does that start?
It is at 8 a.m. on the 26th as well.
Okay, and if you want to sign up a kid,
you go to okcmarathon.com, and it has all the prices and all the registrations for every race.
All right. Mollie Bennett works 24/7 and 12 months a year on the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon. So I know you'll be a little nervous as race day gets here. Our fingers are crossed. You're going to have good weather. And thanks for everything you do to represent Oklahoma City so well.
Thank you.
All right. That's going to do it for this edition of the Mayor's Magazine. I'm Mick Cornett. I'll be back next month with another show, and we'll see you then.